Here are my top 3 tips for canyon riding. Number 1 is going to be gear. It's too often that I show up to the canyon and I see people in exo gear, which I don't think is optimal gear at all, because they have their arms, shoulders a lot of times, their torso, their knees, ankles, everything's exposed, and a lot of times it's helmet and exoskeleton. I think it's inadequate. Or other times I see people with helmet only, helmet, gloves, and more commonly it's helmet, gloves, and jacket. And I think the legs, the hip area, the boots, I think all of that is just as important as the upper body. Canyons can be very unpredictable. You never know when you will go down, regardless if it was your fault or not. You do want to be always protected as much as possible. I would recommend an air vest, external or internal. Just having a full leather suit is a good place to start. 2-piece or single piece is fine, but suit and an air vest would be rider's best option. Moving on to tip number 2, state of mind. A lot of times when people show up to the canyon, it always in their best interest to show up with a plan, with a state of mind. What I mean by this is that they want to have certain expectations from the ride. How should they expect the ride should go? What they expect they're going to get out of the ride? How do they expect they're going to ride? Or what the plan is. If their plan is to go ride with their friends, but the main goal of the plan would be to focus on a certain skill, that's gonna help them not feed into other people's shenanigans. It will help them keep their ego at bay, where if their friends decide to go super fast and he's not a super fast rider, it's gonna help him to continue focusing on the plan that he came up with in the first place. So I think state of mind is super big. Expectations of how the ride should go is actually very helpful as well. Tip number 3, bike maintenance. It's way too common that I experience riders coming up to the canyon expecting to ride super fast, where they're on the wrong tire or the tires are completely worn out. And strange enough, a lot of times I have experience where riders' oil filter bolt is loose. It ends up getting completely unscrewed and spilling oil everywhere. It ends up causing themselves to crash, or themselves and the riders behind them. Or if they're lucky, nobody ends up crashing, but the bike ends up catching fire. So it could be any kind of issue: suspension not set up properly, blown out suspension, their front brakes are missing, or they Mickey Mouse their whole bike maintenance themselves. So whatever the case is, you want to make sure your bike is up to par, from tire to suspension to brakes to all the fluids, because in most cases they're not. Failure of your own equipment is going to affect riders around you, not just yourself.